So how was Escobar eventually tracked down? What was the tipping point?
Well, there's a lieutenant with the Colombian National Police that had taken the initiative to teach himself how to use radio directional finding equipment because the phones back then weren't 4G, 5G like we have now. They were basically radio telephones. Excuse me. If you know anything about the radio telephones or the radio frequencies, there's thousands of frequencies on the spectrum. So we could the CIA had a program called this is declassified now, so we can talk about it, Operation Central Spike. Basically, Central Spike was a twin-engine King Air that would fly over the city of Medellin with radio intercept equipment. They're the ones that are listening, trying to identify the frequency that Pablo's talking on. So we identify that frequency. Pablo, this is December 2nd, 93. Pablo is actually talking to his kid, Juan Pablo, who's 17 years old. And the lieutenant is out with his equipment. Now, the government of France had donated these vans that contained radio directional finding equipment, and the
Mm,
algorithm that was used back then was just basic triangulation. So you'd put 3 vans on Medellin's built in a bowl, so you could put 3 vans on high spots around the city, shoot their signals out, and when the 3 signals intersected, that's where Pablo's phone was located physically. But the margin of error was it could be 2 or 3 city blocks large. So to refine that margin of error, you have to use these handheld antennas, and the way you use them is you ride down the street, you have to hold it out the window of the car, which is pretty obvious,
yeah.
right? So that's what Lieutenant Hugo Martinez was doing. He's there's a History Channel did a reenactment video, which we use in our show. He's he has to have a driver because he's got a meter in one hand, he's holding the antenna out the other window. And he says, he's actually interviewed on this reenactment that he's driving down the street and his meter's telling him that, hey, the signal's coming from over here. And then he looks out the car window and there's Pablo on the phone looking at him. Now,
Looking at the colonel?
yeah, at the lieutenant.
At the lieutenant,
Yep.
who's
So,
holding the antenna. He
yeah.
is looking Pablo Escobar in the eye.
And see, now in our wire room, they're listening to this phone call. So after everything's done, we're talking to the lieutenant and he tells us all this. And so we go back and listen to the tapes to see how did Pablo react when he saw the lieutenant drive down the street and hold this antenna out. There's no disruption in his conversation at all. It's not like he's talking to his son saying, listen, boy, you do this. Oh shit, what is that? There was none of that. There was no break in his conversation. And the only explanation we've ever come up with is like when you asked me about when, I was telling you about my partner getting shot in 1989. As I'm telling you that story, I'm reliving in my mind what happened that day. And even though I'm looking at you, I'm not really seeing you because you're in your mind's eye, I guess would
Mhm.
be how you explain it. And that's the only explanation we've ever come up with as to why Pablo did not react.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a few minutes later when that elite group of police officers that we'd been working with, that's when they conducted the raid.
So you think he was d thinking about something else or maybe explaining something to his son, kinda just in his own head, looks at this guy holding a, pretty primitive back in the day antenna, super obvious,
Mhm.
but nothing registers to Pablo Escobar because he's somewhere else, luckily, so they were able to track him down from that.
Yep. That's our explanation.
Yeah. What were his final moments like, Pablo Escobar?
Well, when the unit we worked with is called Dijin, Dijin. They used det cord to blow the door off of this 3-story row house. This is a series of row houses front and back. So I'm sure when that blew up, I'm sure he realized, even on the phone call, he's like, "I have to get back to you. Something's going on here." So they come in. That first floor is a combination garage and kitchen and laundry room. And in one big room, there's actually a taxi cab pulled up to the counter of the kitchen. So it's not like separate rooms like we have here in the United States. Then you go up to the second floor, and that's like a living room, a dining room. It might have been a bedroom, but that's where he was on the phone when the lieutenant saw him. And then you go up to the third floor, and that's bedrooms. So they're making their progress up to the second floor. Pablo and his lone bodyguard. This is a guy that used to have as many as 500 sicarios protecting him. He's down to
Mhm.
one. So, and that guy's nickname was Lemon. So They make it up to the 3rd floor. The cops come around the 2nd floor. There's shots going back and forth. Limon jumps out there on the there's a window up there on the landing, and the row house behind them was a 2-story, and then the one right next to it was a 3-story. So they're able to jump out that window onto the roof of that 2-story, and that's how they're gonna make their escape. Well, Limon goes first. He goes running over the edge. There's 2 cops down there. They yell for him to drop your weapons, raise your hands, and of course he starts shooting at them, and they shoot him, and he falls off the roof dead. Now Pablo knows they're shooting at him coming up the steps. He's just heard this gunfire out the window. And this just I'm surmising this because this is what makes sense to me. But he's got no place to go. The only place he can go is out that window and see if he can somehow make it across that
Mm.
two-story roof. So he does. He jumps down. These are the clay tile roofs.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any shoes on, so those tiles will break under the he was you've seen the pictures. He was a fat man back then.
Yeah.
So these tiles are gonna break as he's running across and cut his feet. He tries to edge along the wall is what the cops told us, but he knows the cops are gonna be in that window just momentarily, and they're gonna have a direct line of sight on him. So he makes a mad dash, run across the roof. They order him to stop. He's got 2 9mm. He's shooting at the guys on the ground. He's shooting at the guys in the window. They hit him 3 times, one in the back of the leg and one in the butt cheek. And those are what we call knockdown shots. And then the kill shot was a 223 round through his right ear. There's a lot of speculation about where that kill shot came from, because it's very precise. It's in the ear.
Mm.
That's a pretty miraculous shot for anybody to make.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories about who fired that shot. A lot of people like to say it was the US operators. Could they do that? They could. I know 'em. I mean, we've been with these guys for 18 months. They are that good. Did they do it? No, they didn't. How do I know? I was in the room with them when the operation started going down back at the police base. I saw the colonel's executive staff running over to his office, and I told him, "Hey, guys, something's going on. Let me go check it out. I'll get back to you." So I am not taking anything away from them. There's no doubt in my mind that they could have sniped him at a mile away and put that bullet right in his ear. But I know it's not true. And if you ask retired General Jerry Boykin, he'll tell you, no, it was the Colombian National Police that fired the
Mm.
shot.